go.
You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today, your edge when investing.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. It looks like it's a great morning as we watch the markets starting to pick back up a little bit. Yesterday, we saw a little bit of the knowledge of where we were coming into this. And, you know, I've been saying it's a K economy. And Howard, you know, look, the K economy is here, right? I mean,
Yep.
And it seemed like yesterday that the electorate had enough, and regardless of politics or party, the party not in power flipped around, right? So they all got upset, and independents now voted pretty heavily skewed to the Democrat side, and the independents are what put Trump in. And the independents are what put the Democrats back in. It's always that way. So here we are. I think I can get some good news finally. People have been saying that I've been so hard, but the market fell. I mean, the market did exactly what it did, right? It just took a little while. But here we are. And I think we talked about this yesterday, Howard, that I think the all clear signal is now here. I think the pressure cooker that was building going into the election has abated yet. So, as you know, I'm still long Apple, Meta, Netflix, and Royal Caribbean. Those four, I'm still going to say long. I think it's going to be a good morning. I think it's going to be to the upside. You're seeing the 10-year now, 4.112 as it's pushing up because it's trying to gain bond market. I think it's it. Yeah.
I couldn't resist. BigBeat's back on the bull, baby.
Yeah,
yeah, Marilyn, I'm okay. I tried to drink a cup of coffee really quick. It was a lot hotter than I thought. There, almost choked to death before we opened. So I am good. But yeah, you know, Steve, that it is interesting to hear the difference. As you said, we got a lot to unpack today. Democrats swept the board. New York City, Virginia, New Jersey, California. GOP is waking up bruised, and government shutdowns are rolling into the longest in U.S. And you're now a bull again?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. Very simple. I think the shutdown ends next week. The Senate Democrats and the Senate Republicans have come together, and they're working on a bipartisan bill right now to what we call CRs, or continuing resolutions, and some things, and a funding solution for some, and trying to piecemeal one together. And I think that's going to give some peace back to that. The president spoke this morning, the National Republican Senate, and he said that now the shutdown is affecting the stock market. Get it together. Get out of this. Shut down the filibuster, and let's get through this and let's move on. That's governing to me, and I like that. Finally, I said that this morning on another show. I said, look, if the president gets away from going after his enemies and stops the nonsense and stops the rhetoric and gets back to governing, I think he's right. I think the market could go to all-time highs. But you're seeing where Russia is talking about now nuclear tests, claiming that now the United States want to do nuclear tests. We got to tamp that rhetoric down, right? That rhetoric is what turns the heat back up, and it makes people nervous. And so I think if we get through that, I think we're okay. But here we are.
Yeah, like I said, start staying a little bit on the politics side of it still. Mandami, and Democratic Socialist from the Queens, will now be New York City's mayor, beating both Silva and Cuomo by a lot. And Cuomo, who had just gotten Trump's endorsement in the 11th hour, like we said in Virginia, Spanberger whooped the other candidate, and Mike Sherrill did take the governor's seat in New Jersey. Steve, is this massive policy statement coming, or voters?
Yeah, it was interesting. The two things I noticed that with Mickey Sherrill in Jersey, that was a route that I didn't expect. To win, yes, I expected Mickey to win, but I did not expect her to win by the size that she did. It's a big size, and I'll tell you what. In Virginia, the Attorney General, who had been, let's just put it this way, his texts were a little racy. Won on the coattails of Spanberger. So that was, I was seeing a lot of split tickets in Virginia, which I expected. But I didn't expect it this high. But it didn't matter. I mean, the numbers just did not pretend. This is not and look, unless things change, Democrats could take over the House. I mean, we're looking at Poly Market. You're looking at Kalshi. The percentage of people think that the Democrats are going to win the House and the Senate back is very high. Look, a year in politics is a very long time. I've only been wrong one time in politics my whole life, and that was the last one, right? The last election, how Trump got in like this, because I really thought Biden was going to get reelected, but things change, right? And I didn't expect all that. So I do think that there are some things in play here, but Trump realized it this morning. He went to the Republicans and said, look, we got to clean our act up and get rid of the filibuster and move on. I was really impressed by what he had to say. I liked what he had to say. And that to me is governing, right? I think he realized, I got to stop listening to Steve Bannon. I got to start getting back to being president, right? And I think that's what happened. And I honestly, I think that was really good. So, yeah.
Awesome. We got to stay in Washington here. Supreme Court takes up one of the most consequential economic cases in decades. The justices are hearing arguments today, I believe 8 hours of it, on whether President Trump had the authority to impose his sweeping global tariffs without congressional approval. If those tariffs get overturned, the White House could be on the hook for tens of billions in refunds, potentially blowing a hole in Treasury projections. Steve, this isn't just a legal story, it's a market story. Treasury desks are bracing because those tariffs brought in roughly $195 billion in fiscal year. If that revenue disappears or has to be refunded, how does that ripple through the bond markets and the deficit narrative?
Bad, very bad.
I don't mean to laugh, but it is. I mean, I don't want to be gloom and doom today. It seems like I am, but these are the top news stories of the day. So we do have to cover them, and this is a big one. And where this was really, everything I had heard early was, Supreme Court will just side with Trump. Doesn't seem to be that way. This seems to be much more up in the air. Like you're saying, the Kalshi and Poly markets actually have this at like 70%, they overturn these tariffs.
No, I don't think so. The president has the USTR, which is the U.S. Trade Rep. How the trade happen and how the tariffs happen are an issue. And I think that's what the fight's about. But the tariffs in general, I mean, tariffs, Congress is the purse strings, you know. This election might change a lot of people's minds. But I don't think so. I think the tariffs stay, and I think how they got here might have set precedents, and I'm not a big fan of that because I believe in democracy. Sorry. Not sorry. But you look at the next level of this, what do we do now? I think the tariff levels and the rhetoric gets tamped down a lot. I think this we're gonna raise 1,000% on you and we're gonna cut 1,000% on you. Those days are over, I think. If they don't, yeah, okay, we're seeing now Schumer and Jeffries are now meeting to end the government shutdown. I think I'm right. You know, all my friends in Washington are all saying the same thing, that it's
it sounds like they're putting in points that will have a date that they have to vote on the ACA and all that stuff.
Let's get it done, boys. I mean, enough's enough. The people have spoken. They're tired. They're mad.
I'm hearing, and that's where we're at. That is definitely a positive rung there for sure. So we'll see how the Supreme Court rules. I mean, it's going to be a big deal. You know, there are other methods and, you know, tools at the president's, hands that he can do to kind of still keep some of the tariffs, but it could take some of the wider sweeping ones away. Steve, I guess I know your philosophy on this now. You know, the markets have, definitely wobbled. Worst session in over a month. Futures are still uneasy. Do you think that we can rally and regroup here?
Yeah, I think we're okay now. Look, I was banging the table, and everybody knows that. I talked about it, that we were way out of bounds with these prices. Earnings were not the earnings to me were not everything, and they weren't keeping up with the prices. I know that I got banged on by you and banged on by everybody about that the earnings were keeping up. I didn't agree with it. I didn't think so. And numbers matter to me. Fundamentals still mattered. And guess what? Everybody kept saying, no, the market's going to go higher, higher, and higher, and higher. Okay, well, at some point, you got to pay the piper. And the piper got paid yesterday. I will say that we might be ending that now, right? And the people's, like I said earlier,
Steve, I think most people would say a 2% pullback still leaves us up 2% month to date, 10% over the last 3 months.
Right. But there's a lot of changes that have happened. The shutdown is slowing down now. Like I said, I think that's a big change. The rhetoric around the world for nuclear proliferation is not happening. I mean, we got to stop nuclear bombs. The hell's wrong with people here? Go watch a dystopian movie on Netflix. You don't want to live in that world. So when I look at all of these things that I've been talking about that have been problematic, AI and all the things, those all came off. So
right, and that's what I was just about to say. The same thing is what has happened is, I guess where maybe your projection was a little bit off was that the money really didn't come out of the market; it moved. So
it moved around.
From NVIDIA.
It came out of the stock market. It came out of places, and highly risk on, which was crypto, right, which was highly risk on, was AI, highly risk. Okay, so that pulled back. And what did I do? I bought Apple, Netflix, Meta.
No, absolutely. You said yesterday you started to acquire. And then like we said, when we looked at
I like to acquire stocks.
Meta's down 18% over 3 months and 14% over the month.
That's right.
The only one that I questioned your buy yesterday, just because it didn't hit the same metric, but you had a different view on it, was Apple, because Apple is not.
Well, Apple's building a new MacBook that I think that are going after these Chromebooks. That's a big one for me. Steve Flanagan, his mail posting says the shutdown was all about the elections. I don't think that's the case. I mean, there's a part of it, yes, Steve, and I'll agree. We'll bring you on here a little bit. If you can come on earlier, it would be nice. But there's more to it than that. People were pissed. People are absolutely unhappy about it, and they voted with their pocketbook, and they voted in the voting booth. This was not just a referendum on the president. I mean, I get all that, but it's a referendum on all of government. People are not happy with the president. He's got the lowest poll numbers in both the now terms now. Congress has the lowest rating on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. This was just boot whoever the hell is in power out. And the people spoke, and they didn't just speak; they spoke. I mean, this is not this was not a normal vote here. This was like, I mean, like I said earlier, Jones, who is questionable person in general, become Attorney General of Virginia, based on the coattails of Spanberger. So, look, you can't put people out of work and expect to get reelected. I mean, or elected in the case of Virginia, right? I mean, the Northern Virginia, where a lot of the employees were for the federal government, are not happy about being out of work. So they're happy. Right. They want to go back to work. I don't blame them. And you know what? So that's because think of all the things that can't happen right now because of it. You got a shutdown. I'm questioning the going to New York because I don't know if the plane will get there. There's all kinds of things that can happen. This is ridiculous. And I think we're good now. I think everybody's happy now, and I think
Yeah, hopefully it looks that way. Earnings did come across, Steve. AMD last night, they did beat expectations. They came in at about $1.20 on their EPS. Revenue was up 36% year over year to $9.25 billion, and their data center revenue was up 22%. Client revenue up 73%, but their margin guidance only met with street estimates, up 54.5%. Stock's down 5% on that.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up a chart. I'm going to share my screen if I can. I posted this also in Twitter or X on Quasar Markets. This is the data center capacity of the United States. 33 counties in the United States now account for 72% of U.S. data center capacity. Do you know where they are? Look at this. Big ones in Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois. Look at this. It's almost like a big circle.
It's only in a small area. A lot of it. I live next to those little ones in the middle of Ohio there. And they're trying to do more around me.
And look at this. You can see right where they are in the water areas, right? That's what they need. They need water. They need resources. So when I see people that say, okay, I don't want my data center near me, I understand that they're loud. They take a lot of electricity. They may pay your rent, your real estate tax or whatever, but it's not enough for a lot of
It's there's a whole bunch of different things, it's the water, it's the electricity, how many jobs, that's what I brought up to you. How many jobs does it actually bring out to it starts a boom because construction and all these jobs in HVAC and all that. There's no more
jobs. It's all done by robots.
What happens when they're done building? When they were done building the mines, what happened out west, right?
The boom and bust. Right.
Yeah. So that I do worry, and I know they run out of, they worry about that in general. And and it's also they're not pretty. So people, these football field long buildings aren't what anybody wants in their backyards, myself included. So it's definitely going to be interesting to watch how it works. And they come fast and furious. When they do build out, they build out quickly.
Yeah.
Steve, as you know, I have to run here. Quasar, everybody have a fantastic day. I'm going to step away and leave it all to BigBeat and Mr. Flanagan. You guys play nice today, please.
We always do. All right, let's get to it. I'm going to pull up some charts myself. I think it's important that we get an idea of what I'm looking at too. And I'm going to pull up my bigger chart. So for those of you who are not, here we go. Hope you can see all of that. these are all the things that I'm looking at this morning as the Qs are pulling back just a wee bit here. Spot gold still trying to get to around the 4,000 handle, and the dollar here 100.26. We saw a hit about 100.35. We're getting out of the spectrum here that Steve Langan talked to us about. You can see here the tick is still fairly flat. WTI now below the 60 handle. That's probably very bad for the economy. Silver now almost 48, and the bond market, as you can see, it's what I've been talking about, is now pushing up. I do have it on the 1 hour. I'm going to pull it to the 1 minute chart because why? Because the bond market is having to push money into it. So it is what it is. I'm going to go to the one chart so that everybody can see what I'm looking at. There we go. Okay. This is the Qs here, and you can see right now Elliott wave now is pushing to the upside. So when I was asked earlier from Howard about my thoughts on the geopolitical side, on the side of business, I'm also looking at from the side of technical analysis, and I think you've got a much clearer picture now to the upside. I think if this is the 3 minute chart, obviously, if I look at a weekly chart, what have we done really? And you can see what I'm talking about. There we go. There could be a small pullback here. I get all that on the weeklies. If I pull the dollar, we're tightening up a little bit on the daily chart. So that's why I think we might have this kind of weird pull we saw, and that's why I was happy about the pullback. I'm okay with it now. You saw this selling back on the 10th. That was another one. These pullbacks that we're getting are getting bought out or bought up. So there's the one that happened back on 801, and there's the one on 1010, and then of course the one that happened yesterday. So they are getting bought up. They're taking that pressure off, and they're pushing to the upside. So I did speak to some people on Wall Street yesterday, late people that you know, saying the same thing, that they think that 650, 660 is where we'll end up. I agree with that. This is about where we'll end up at the end of the year. If you're willing to play a much longer game and get away from the zero DTEs. You can see back when my big buy signal back in April that kicked off has still sit there and it's still there, right? So nothing has changed in that aspect. The direction of it, I'm going to move out some of that. There we go. From where we are now, and I'm going to tighten up just a bit so we can see my boxes, what my thought process is here. There you go. Why am I doing all these boxes? What all these lines mean, BigBeat? Well, it means that I'm looking at a tighter spread, right? Where is the buy and where are the sell signals? And I've been screaming when it's up here, get out, get out, get out, because I thought that's where the sell signals were. And I'm seeing them very clearly. Excuse me. And there they are. So this new sell signal here, the market kept just pushing right on up, and I thought that was nutty. I mean, and now here we are right on the base. So I kind of like this. Let's get to it. Bought Apple yesterday. Nothing has really changed. The numbers aren't really changing anything for me. Again, I felt like Apple was over its skis. There's that big click, kaboom. Let's flip a 3 hour chart with Wall Street loves, right? So yesterday. This is why I did not like Apple. And you can see what my thought process was here in the charts. And of course, that sell-off happened. So, all right. And I bought Meta. Meta is up about $6 today. Why? I want to pull up a daily chart on this one so you'll understand where I see it. Look at that yesterday. Big fall off. If I showed you that one, there it is right there. And there it is right there. So I like that selling yesterday, and I went and bought a bunch of Meta yesterday. Why? Because there's this gap, and it's got to fill it. When you see these gaps in there, they will get filled, and they always get filled, by the way. Almost, I mean, it's a rarity that things don't get filled. But here's the big picture. Over the last 4 days, you saw, and it even includes 5, I guess, on the first day of the selling. The selling was very high. But the selling, as you can see, is abating as well. And I think we're going to turn here. And that's why I think people are looking at Meta going, I kind of like this. And I do. I bought it here I am looking for this. I'm going to continue looking at this for the next part of this. So pushing here, I'm expecting somewhere around $700 a share. All right. Phil, what, bro? Okay. So, all right. This right here. Do you see this? Do you see where my lines are? That's a gap. That's a daily gap. Ignacio, do you see that? That gap is what I'm very interested in. And gaps get filled. So if you go back here, you can see where the gaps get filled here. And gaps got filled here and here and here and here. Gaps get filled. Just remember that. That's a rule, just so you know. If I go back and I pull up a weekly chart, we'll do it again and pull it. Show me a gap that didn't get filled and I'll show you an opportunity, right? That's what I mean. This selling here was so strong. This is a weekly chart now. So this chart here was very strong to the downside. When you saw that one big wick in the weekly chart, which you saw here, then it started to push back up. All right. So that's my thought process on Meta. On Netflix is a little bit different. All right. Netflix is a bit different as it has started to turn. Most of you know, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I liked Netflix under 1,000 after this massive selling back in March and April. So in April, I bought at around 840, somewhere around there. I'll look back at the numbers, around 840, and we had a heck of a run. That now you could say, oh, well, everybody ran that time. Yeah, they did. And I dumped it before. I dumped it right around 1,000. And then, of course, I went on Schwab and all the different street.com and all that, talking about that. I thought that we would see a run now buying anything under 1,000, but I dumped very quickly. Now we're at the 1,100 handle here, 1,000. I like it again. Why? Because now your tops become your bottoms. All right, there's your top. Now that becomes your support, right? And now you're starting to see the Elliott wave turning. MACDs are turning on the daily, and I like this. This is not a short term, okay? This is a longer term. And, of course, the other reason I bought it was I thought that people were nuts about the split, right? So in that split, they ran the stock up, and I thought, well, that's silly. There's no reason for that. And when they did, they just sold it off. And daily over the next few days, they sold it off. So now I do like Netflix now. So I know it could still sell off a bit, and I get that, but I'm going longer term. So, and the last one is Royal Caribbean. I do like Royal Caribbean here. The sell-off I bought yesterday. So I'm explaining all of this about why I did what I did yesterday. All right. So I bought these again. We're now below some of these support levels, but this support level should hold here. And I think we should see a turn in the MACD on the daily. Pull up a 3-hour chart. Why 3-hour chart? So Wall Street looks at. Look at this. Elliott wave is changing. All right. So we are open. I'm going to pull up the QQQ. And let's keep our eye on the QQQs. I will not be making a trade this morning because I made some pretty big trades yesterday. And I think I'm going to hold right where we are. So I'm going to pull up the 10-second chart. I do expect us to go to the upside. So that's what I'm thinking. Meta now up 2.5 here, I think. Yeah. Netflix still slipping just a bit here, but the Qs are slow. I get it. Maybe a 5-second chart to make it even easier for people to see. We are pushing to the upside here a little bit. Yeah. Apple now slipping a bit here. I think the first wipeout here. Let's let the machines do their thing a little bit, and then I think we can look for something here. But right now the dollar is pushing up. So, and I think yesterday's selling was a little abated. There might be some FOMO, some chasing, and I understand that if people chase, and they're going to chase, but that's fine. I don't see any reason to chase today. I'm long now. I think we're okay, and it may take a couple of days to come out of that. But that to me is where I'm at. I think we're gonna have a nice move, I think, up going into the close of the year. I really do. Canadian Services PMI now coming in at 50.5. Hey, that's good. We were showing 46.3 as the there you go. That's really good news. That means people are feeling a little bit better up there in Canada. There you go. Still seeing a little bit of selling in the queues, but not really much, to be honest with you. Yeah. Netflix back to 1080. I think the selling that there was some in there a little bit, but I think that's pretty much gone. Yeah. This is a 10. Remember, this is a 5-second chart, so a little fast, but oh, and of course, Jim Cramer is now talking about Meta platforms. So, okay. Kiss of death, I guess. I like Jim, but if you don't know, he's a good guy, by the way. So, maybe not so good on the call sometimes, but he's a pretty good guy. All right. Royal Caribbean now flat on the day there in Meta. So these are the stocks I've been looking at. If there's a stock out that you're interested in that I can look at, I'm happy to show you charts today. I've been teaching charts a long time, and I've been taught by some of the best. Dollar above a dollar. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you'll see I do. That's right. I do have the dollar, yen, and Dixie on the right-hand side. I am watching USO. And those people who are asking about NVIDIA, I still think NVIDIA is a little over its skis right now, so I'm not there. You want IBIT? Okay, we can pull up IBIT for you. Sure. Look, IBIT's taking a dump, and we'll probably continue to take a dump. I'll pull up a daily chart here for everybody so they can see it, make it easier for them. There are some possibilities of holding here. It's here could be one of those places, especially now that Bitcoin has taken a little bit of a breather. Look, it's all about Bitcoin, whether or not Bitcoin can hold here, and I think it will. I think those sellers are in there. I know that Howard talks about the perps in there, but I'm not too scared about it. I mean, I've been buying. For those of you who don't know, I bought both Solana and Bitcoin over the last couple of days pretty heavily. So I've been buying. Remember, I tell you, be the ticker taker. I buy as they're selling because I'm taking it from them. And when they're pushing it up way high, I'm selling it to them, right? So that's what I'm trying to say when I do that. I say it in a way you want Bitcoin, yeah, yeah. All right, James, you want yeah, okay, you wanted IBIT, yeah. And that's where I'm at. So right now, I think Bitcoin has a nice move to the upside here. We can pull up Bitcoin too as well. Same chart for those of you who don't know. I do expect some of these massive firms and my lines that I was talking about the other day. If you were watching me the other day, pull it up there for you. If we broke through that to the upside or the downside, that's where it was going to be. This was going to be the demarcation line, and we lost that, and that was right around 106. Here we are now at that twice tested it under the 100,000 handle, and we got under that. So here we are at 99.3. So now I think the move, the path of least resistance to talk about, is now to the upside. So I do like this. You can see where you saw massive selling. There's a pop. Now these are relief pops. But when you have massive testing the downside, which we had here and here and here, you see a run back up. So that's why I think that the test is done. It's going to take a little while. I understand that, but the company like Monster Strategy or those guys are they're I always call them MSTR, Monster Strategy. That I think that you're going to see that, right? So that's why I think so. But it's longer term, and I'm very interested. There's Meta now up 4.5 now. I see Royal Caribbean now up a little bit, and Netflix covering a lot of the sell-off this morning. So expect Apple to do the same, to go on up, but that's where we are. All right, QQQ. Let's get back to QQQ. Pull up a 10-second chart now, and there we go. Still a little bit to the downside, but like I said, I think the pressure of the downside is pretty much off. Still a little chasing. Still a lot of people that think that the world's ending tomorrow. I did not think that. And I didn't pound the table at the world's ending, but I did think that we were way over its skis. I thought that there was too much to the upside, and look, I took a beating on the social media, and now I get to take my victory lap when everybody else is licking their wounds. So I just want everybody to understand that, we have to make sure we understand the fundamentals of the markets and understand that, numbers do matter. I am seeing a few down detector here. Fidium Fiber is down. AWS still having problems today. Looks like Spotify is having some issues. It's like Google's fixed theirs now. Microsoft's fixed theirs this morning. So might be getting out of the, yeah. For those of you who don't know, I do follow Down Detector. I want to know if my charts go down or something goes down. How do I know? Is it me or whatever? Ron, have a good day too. Yeah. But we are pushing up a little bit here now. Bitcoin pushing back up. World Caribbean up $1. Meta up 3, almost 4 here. So very nice, very nice. I am not making a move this morning. I'm not making a trade, as you know. We can watch Tesla. I've enjoyed shorting Tesla quite a bit over the last few days, few weeks actually, and this is why this is a daily chart, because it's so wide. The ups and the downs are so wide. Do I think what do I think Tesla's going here in the next little bit? I can tell you this is a 1 hour chart. You can see why I look at all these sells in here. Yeah, there's some buys in it too, but the sells are very strong in Tesla. And then of course when it runs, I let it run, and then I'll sell it. It's pretty simple. It's been a very big winner for me, 41 in a row, I think, something like crazy numbers like that. So that's kind of why. You can see here Netflix earlier this morning got sold off. There it is again, testing to the bottom, to the downside, right? Can't do it. And I think, I'm in at right around 1090. So I think we'll probably be around somewhere around 1120, 1132, probably the next couple of days. I'll look at it again, reassess. But for right now, if I look at a daily chart, that was too strong, and you've got way too much. This pivot here, right, became the bounce for here, the support for here. So the resistance here became the support here, and that happened back in February, right? And of course, we all know what happened in April, the big April sell-off, and that gave you the buying opportunity. Well, this is giving you another buying opportunity very quickly. This is a daily chart, so you can see here on the MACD is turning, and I do like that. And I do think that when the split happens, I think that's on what day is that? On the 17th, okay? So on the 17th, no, your stock is not $100. You didn't lose 1,000% in your stock. You will get 10 shares for every one that you own. So, yeah. All right. Look, yeah. Now RCL. I expect Apple probably to get into the green here at some point. Yeah, we're already starting to see a little bit of the buying. Although the volume is kind of dried up a little bit here. It's kind of nice. There's a buying signal there for you on the 1 minute chart. 3 hour chart, same thing, right? See where the direction of the market is going with the Apple? Same situation here. So I feel like that's kind of where we're at. All right, Bitcoin now 102,760, again trying to the upside. We saw a little bit of that selling over the last few days. This is the 3 hour chart. This is where the selling was, but I think you're going to see the first buy signal on the MACD on the 3 hours happening now. Yeah, I should say 103 here very soon. Yeah, probably get right back to those numbers, 104.8, and then back to where we were. So 106.9, somewhere around there, 107, probably the next day or two, maybe even today. Who knows if this thing runs the way that it's running right now. Yeah. All right. Anything else out there you might want us to look at? I'm happy to look at that right now. But, we looked at Eli Lilly over the last. We know that Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk, we know that I've been calling for this run. We've had a nice run since middle of October. Here we are now. So this run here, 772 to 922, has been an extremely nice run. Why? Because they're still selling weight loss drugs. Just is what it is. And it's also been affecting. I'll tell you another stock that I'm getting interested in again is Disney. Disney under 100 is always a buy for me. Why? Why is it under 100? It's always a buy for you. Well, it's because it's had a nice run. So this is I'll pull up a daily chart on Disney. I think everybody likes to see the daily charts. This Elliott wave here is almost done. So I think the next Elliott wave movement is now going to be to the upside. So I'm not in it yet, but I will be if we get down to here, to the hundreds. Pull it up again. There is and here you go, Ignacio. I'll fill it in for you. There it is again, right? There's a big gap here that did not get filled. 92.80. So anywhere in here to the 100. If we break through the 100 to the downside, I'm expected to go all the way to 93. So I think that's why some people are getting nervous about Disney, but I don't see that. Yeah. And of course, YouTube now planning to restore Disney's ABC and ESPN. Yeah. So I think there's some negotiations going on. I think we're good. I think it'll be much better soon. I'm headed to the downside now. I don't like that too much. But I'm not too worried about it. I still see, yeah. There's a 10-second chart. There's still some selling in here, but I don't really. I'm really liking what I see now. Whereas right now it seems like people are just chilling out a bit. So I do like this. So I'm not looking for the move today. I'm buying here, right? I'm looking for the move for the next here going into the end of the year. I do like this, and I do think that we will push higher throughout the end of the year. And I'm hearing that now on Wall Street. I think the pressure of AI and all the stuff that we've been looking at that's been pushing the whole market up is what's got me going here. That said, I thought it was out of control, right? And so I think a lot of that pressure cooker, I think I talked about that this morning of the election, I think that's off too as well. Making Congress get back together and play nice and get a bill together. That in and of itself, to me, tells me the markets will start to what people really want is they really just want status quo. They just want a better world, a better life. They just want to pay their bills and buy a house and a car and what they want to do and live unencumbered. And so that did not seem to be, to me, what we saw over the last 3 to 6 months. Now, Bitcoin pushing a little bit here, and maybe some selling, but this is the 10-second chart. 5-minute chart, you saw it. There it is. It's testing again to the upside, probably test again. But I think the selling, the strong, hard-nosed selling is done. Yeah, there you go. There's your daily chart. And I do think the very strong, let's dump everything we have because Chicken Little's running around is over. And you saw that, right? You saw this these days. But over the last few days, you saw quite a bit. But that volume of the downside, it has started to abate a bit. And I think you'll start to see a push up. And definitely, I think we'll see a move to the upside going into the end of the year. That's what I think is going to happen. All right. What else is going on in the world here we can talk about? Okay, yeah. U.S. services PMI. I'll pull these numbers up too for everybody to see. It's just a little bit off, 54.8 to 55.2. The composite there, 54.6 to 54.8. So PMI numbers down a little bit, but I don't think that's a big deal. I'm not too concerned about those numbers. I think I might have hit the market just a wee bit, but I think we push it right back up. Actually, we already are. Yeah. Okay. And Apple's only down a point now, 0.8. So pull up Apple chart here. Yeah, I think we're starting to see where things are starting to hold a little bit, and I do like what I'm seeing now. So yeah, good. I think I can back off of my hard nose feeling about the markets being way out of whack. I do feel like some of this is pulling back. That pressure cooker that I've been talking about is off. So I do think people are in a much happier position now, and I think will the brokenness of the charts be fixed tomorrow? Nope. It'll take a little while, but it's there, right? The FOMO is there, and I think the machines are still running around. But yeah, I am hearing that the Supreme Court tariff hearing will be live at 10 a.m. Yeah, so see what the Supreme Court does. I think they're just going to hear, and I think they're going to side with the president. I don't think there's anything changes there. I think they side with the president, and rightfully so. He is the president. How he got those tariffs on and did it himself, not so sure that I agree with that. But he is the president, and we need to. He had a plan, and people voted for that plan, and he needs to put that plan in place. So, okay, yeah, here we go. Yep. Now Rick Santelli on CNBC now talking about services PMI. So I do expect the PMI numbers were weak. So I think the chances of us getting a 25 basis point cut in December are way higher now. So if that's how you're playing the game, that's smart. Then you know what's happening here. Then you know that this, yeah. All right, I'm seeing it. Still trying to push the upside. I don't really see any heavy movements here. I just don't. I think a lot of people are waiting on whether or not what the Supreme Court does, but I don't really care either way. It's going to be a very, very expensive charge if the Supreme Court does reverse it. And I said earlier it's bad because now you've done something that you know. But I don't think so. I think the Supreme Court will side with the president. I'm still looking at Bitcoin, holding at 103. That's very good. I am very long Solana. Those of you, I'm in at 161. That's where I'm averaged in at 158. So I expect maybe in the next couple of days. Yeah, did I get nervous over the last couple of days? No, not long term. But I did when the selling was pretty strong. I did buy down here, and of course I was buying at the 170. So my DCA, my dollar cost averaging is at 161.10. I think is where I'm actually at, and it doesn't bother me too much. So I think we'll get right back above that fairly soon. Meta pushing here a little bit. Yeah. See what I mean by this bottoming out here, this rounding out. I like this, and the volume is slowing to the downside. It's slowing to the negative. The negative selling is slowing up too. So when this turns, I think you'll see a nice little push. We've already talked about this one a couple of times now. So McDonald's is another issue here that I've seen over the last couple of hours. McDonald's is really doing well because their earnings showed a massive revenue over the last couple of days. So I do like this. I can tell you that we know that there's a couple of times when McDonald's does very well, and the one time that they always do well in is the Monopoly game. They've been at the Monopoly game, and they actually are seeing an uptick in people eating there. So to me, that's very, very interesting to me. Yeah. All right, look at this. NVIDIA now to the upside, pushing back. So maybe the AI narrative thesis here is back on a little bit. Buying the dip kind of feel is still there, but yeah. Thanks, Straight Talk. Appreciate that. You're always one that takes good care of us, and we appreciate your. You're all right. You're an all right guy. All right. Nike. I think yesterday Howard was asking about Nike. Was like, would I get back in? Would I buy Nike stock? Those of you who've been following me for a while know that I bought a lot of Nike stock and I dumped it once we got above this. Yeah, there was a nice big move here for me down here. I liked it a lot, but when it got up to here, I thought, okay, we've made a nice run. Let's get out, and we did that. But I've been trading a lot of these stocks in and out very quickly. I don't feel like that's the case anymore. I'm not that nervous anymore. So what? Meta now up 3.67 here. We could see a nice little run here. If we can break above 631, 632, get above 632.67, Meta could have a bigger run today. We're already starting to see that now. Look at this little bit of pop here. There you go. See, that's what I mean. I'm liking this a little bit. Actually, a lot. Apple pushing now. Yeah, Qs are now pushing too as well. I like this. I think this is a good buying opportunity down here. I'm not talking about what to buy or sell. We don't do that. But you know, these numbers are pretending to be good. We talked about IBIT this morning. There it is. There's your 1033. So if that's the case, IBIT should be running today. There it is for you. So congrats. Yeah, kind of what I thought. I really want to see Apple get a positive here today. If we can see Apple getting positive, I think we're going to see a nice little run. And I think with the IBIT right now, I mean, just I want everybody to understand that when you buy IBIT, you don't actually own Bitcoin. Okay, you own the ETF that owns Bitcoin, but you don't personally own Bitcoin. So, but this is a nice little run here. I do like this 1034 now on Bitcoin, so it is pushing. Meta, yeah, I thought so. If we just see Meta break above, there went 631. Now it needs to break above that 632.66, and we could see a run here. They're trying. But I'm not in it for this today. As you know, I'm looking for a nice little run going into the end of the year. And this is exactly what I'm hoping on. And I don't believe in hope and luck, as you all know. I think I'm just Freudian slip. Dollar is pushing dollar yen 153, almost 154 now. But the Dixie now pulling back a bit, so that helps a little bit with the market too as well. Oil USO down today, but look, you know, this is not yesterday, right? Whether the nuttiness of yesterday, this is stairs up, elevator down. So I do like this one. I do like what we're seeing here. I do like this play. We could see a positive day here, fairly positive day. There was a lot of remember I talked about this a lot, that there was almost $8 trillion in cash on the sidelines, and I think that this could be one of those days where split government, where we hold the president accountable, Congress, all that. I mean, look, that's a very good place for markets to be in. Compromise and getting bills done and working. I do like that. So I like everything I see today. I'm changing my tune a bit. I think Howard got a little premature saying I'm turning to bull. Not quite a bull yet, but I am more bullish than I have been. I've been very bearish, as everybody knows, and very negative on this market. And I got what I wanted. It took a little while, but I'm trying to show people how to understand the market, right? And why I see what I see. And not me just saying, oh, the day we buy, the day we sell. I mean, I have reasons behind things that I do. I've been doing this a long time. Royal Caribbean now at $4 there. There we go. I told you if it could break above, we'd see a nice little run in Royal Caribbean. I like this run. I think that it had a nice sell-off. I think it pulled down. And I think we saw some buying here. This is good. This is really good, actually. I'm liking this a little bit. A lot, actually. Apple 268.88. We could see a positive day here. We're another buck here, and we're gonna go positive. Yeah, Qs are still trying. This is pull up a 15-second chart here. Yeah, it's trying to break above again. Yeah, I think if we continue to push like this, I think the algos will kick in. I think people will kick in. I think they'll chase. So I don't want chasing. Don't chase. Please don't chase. I don't. It's just that's not what we do here. We make money. All right. I'm gonna do it quickly because Steve Flanagan's in. Let's get him in here. I'm gonna take off my charts. I think we had some good charts there. And Steve Flanagan.
Hey, those were good charts, Steve. Good morning. I liked following along with them. You know, after the elections, now all of a sudden, as you mentioned, the Democrats are looking to get the budget, get the government open. And,
Yes.
you know, okay, the results were not in certainly the Republican Party's favor, but
I think it was. I'm
okay,
gonna disagree with you. I think it was. I'll tell you why.
go ahead.
Because I think you know what happens when you're a bully and you beat up on people.
Yeah.
After a while, you get that feeling like I'm invincible.
Yeah.
And I think, look, the Republican, there's nothing wrong with the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. There's wings of the party that I don't like. I can't stand the far right, and I can't stand the far left. But I think it's putting people back in check and saying, look, the American people won last night. Now, is the Democrat Party win? Yes. But I think that people were saying, we don't want too much of too much. We want to feed our families. We don't want the government shut down. We don't want SNAP taken from us. So guess what? I think that they won. I think the Senate Democrats and Republicans got together this morning and said, look, the people spoke. The president got quiet this morning and is now taken off to Miami. I think the American people won, Steve, is what I think last night.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Steve. That's a good analysis. I like that. And let's see the government do what they're supposed to do. Forget about what party you belong to, and let's just get things going. You know, if you look at it and, you know, slice it and dice it, you know, it's going to be tough for Republicans to win in New Jersey with over 250,000 people have fled New Jersey to red states. So, you know, no shocker here to me at all. I'm a little concerned about my home in New York. You know, I'm out of New York. I moved precisely because of these reasons. And I'm a little worried how it's going to turn out. But let's see. But looking around with the dollar index, Steve, you know, we hit the objectives. We broke 126. We put a high in of 134 today. And that's significant. That 126 high has held since August 1st. The objective is 102, but I believe that the first leg of the move up has hit its objective against a number of currencies. I would not be one bit surprised now to see a little bit of a pullback. If the dollar begins to pull back, what does that open up? It opens up cryptos and equity markets in the U.S. now.
See, we got a question. Margaret Shark, and we appreciate Margaret Shark, by the way. You guys are really good to us. Is asking, will the rich folks now leave New York? And I think they will. I think they already are. I mean, I'm hearing now that the number of, I mean, I heard that my home prices in Florida and the home prices in Texas are going to go through the roof now because of that. I don't want to see that. I love New York City. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of New York City. Steve, you and I have spent many years in New York. We don't want to see that. But, you know, I think people are nervous about New York City. I think he was a blustery talk about how he's going to slow down the rents and all this. I don't think any of it's going to get done. I think you're just going to, I don't think any of it's going to get done. You still got to get past the assemblyman, right? You still got to get past the assembly in New York, right?
Long ago, my father always said, and God rest his soul, but he said when people, back in the old day, we pulled a curtain behind us when we voted. And when people pull the curtain, they vote with their wallet. So yes. Here's the challenge to answer that question. How does a high tax place like New York City, I believe the highest in the country, how does a high tax state like New Jersey, Virginia, how do they follow through on their election promises? If you raise taxes further, and we can open this up on a macro, looking at England right now with the budget about to be proposed, and their finance minister suggesting that taxes going against their election mantra will have to raise taxes higher than people expect. Yes, the answer is people will leave. Who will leave? It'll be the people who have the ability to have mobility. And that, yes, is the higher end folks. And so
Well, Cuomo said something very interesting in his speech. He said that he felt, I mean, nobody likes a sore loser, right? He got beat pretty bad.
Yeah.
He said something like it's his home and he feels bad. And, when you look at, he said that the reason that Mamdani won was because of all the new people and the immigrants that moved into New York. All right. But Mamdani said something very interesting at his speech. He said that New York City was built by immigrants, for immigrants, with immigrants, and now led by an immigrant for the first time. I think we just lost Steve's camera there. I think he's still in there. And he said that. So to me, hopefully Steve can hear me. I think he lost his internet too as well. Is that this might have been an immigration issue more than anything. I don't know if anybody's out there is questioning that. I don't know the question behind that. But that could very well be it. But yes, market chart, to answer your question, I think there will be quite a few, and I think Steve's right, those with heavy mobility issues that are able to come in. And we're, to finish that thought, Mamdani said, is built by, for, with, and now led by an immigrant. Immigration could have been one of the big key factors on top of rent, though, right?
Absolutely, Steve. And Mamdani is right in that analysis. However, what he lacks is a historical view to that comment. He's 34 years old. Right. He's wishful thinking. Let's face it, to people that have been through the trenches, we look at what he said. All his election promises are giving out money. He appealed to a certain part of the electorate, which depends on a lot of the government handouts. I saw an analysis last night from the county of Queens, which is one of the boroughs that makes up the city. There are over 100 different dialects of language spoken. And I believe they had almost 70% of the population, which is 2 million, are immigrants. So yes, he appealed to a certain section and won, and decisively. Can he follow through on those? I don't know. He's going to turn to New York State for funding.
I think the bigger question is, if immigration did win in New York, will that be an issue in the next election coming up for Congress? Because right now, in Polly Market and all the calciums, all the Democrats winning back the House and Senate are at the highest level now that they have been percentage-wise.
Will it be an issue? They're going to try to make it an issue, yes. Okay. However, prior to even getting there, you've got the Supreme Court that's going to rule on some pretty big gerrymandering rules that go on. Yeah. And what is that to the viewers? You've got, let's just take one state like Connecticut. There are 43% of Connecticut, or 44, that are registered Republican, yet they have 0 representatives in the Congress. So that's what you call, gerrymandering. They rig all the districts so you can keep a political opponent out.
Well, I mean, Texas started that first. I mean, I don't. That's been going on since Lincoln's time, right? I mean, changing it up, making it better for yourself. I will say, and I mentioned this yesterday. I think the problem with gerrymandering, the biggest problem is that, and I think I heard this on CNN and on Fox News yesterday. Both I watched both at the same time for obvious reasons. That what's happening is we now have, in the last election for Congress, only 35 seats were really up for to changing hands, right? It could get worse and worse, where these seats now are where they are forever and ever and ever, and they never change because of the. But people move around the country, right? So I don't know that I'm really too worried about it. I mean, for many, many decades, Texas was a very Democrat state, and in California was a Republican state. And I know kids these days will go like, "Oh, no way!" Yeah, good old Governor Ann, she was, the Democrat Texas, in California, Ronald Reagan was the governor, right? So, yeah, things change. but the gerrymandering here just seems more political than ever to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but this seems very, very harsh.
I think you're right, Steve, and I think that these are the type of things that need to change to get true representation.
Yeah.
As you know, I've been echoing. I believe that the youthful vote will be the big vote that begins to swing the next elections. Maybe not in 26, but certainly in 28. You better connect with the youth, because
Yes.
I think that that's going to have a lot to say and do. So it'll be a matter of who runs. But, in dealing with today, I like what the dollar is doing. I think yesterday was, in hindsight, I should have seen that coming. The machinery started to turn, the dollar spiked, and again, all these correlated trades had to come off. You saw crypto.
Okay, that's a good point. Let's take it apart for a second. I like that point. I'll let you finish it. What is it that I saw that you didn't see? What was it that we were not connecting with? Because you and I think a lot alike. We've been in the market for a long time. You saw something different in the market, and that pressure came off. Now I've turned bullish a little bit here, right? What is it that's now changing? Are you're still saying that there's problems? Or are you still saying we're good? Is all of the negativity that I was seeing, I feel is coming off? But what are you thinking now?
So what I missed was the severity of the sell-off. I did not expect the machinery to kick in. Again, when the correlations begin to break, the machines don't look and say, should I sell? It's an automatic response. And if you think about it, one of the Achilles heels to our financial equity market today is when you sell 1,000 shares or 10,000 shares of an ETF that is a popular ETF, let's say in tech, that sends a basket of trades out into the marketplace, right? Because the ETF is made up of all these individuals. So think about the heavy-handedness that a machine executes when it sells these ETFs. That's what I missed, Steve. I didn't think that it would be as severe, but once it started, it just continued, and everything. The dollar index spiked, Bitcoin dropped sharply, and equities dropped sharply. The correlations all had to go off. What was really leading to a lot of your theories, Steve, on the sell-off and things being out over the skis? Gold and silver. They have been coming off for the past 2 weeks. So does this get more severe to a correction on the downside? I'm going to watch gold and silver because I think they led the whole move. I'm going to watch them carefully. I kind of thought 3,800 in gold was a good support point. I believe we hit the low 3,900. So if they stabilize, then I expect everything else to stabilize. And to bring it home to my expertise in the currencies, therefore the dollar hit its first objective. I would now be looking for a little bit of a move back down. We're at 125 right now, 120 in the dollar index. 126 was my level. We broke it. But now I'm looking for, last week's close was 99.72. I think that we could easily trade back off into the high 99 levels where I would look to reestablish. I'm watching sterling carefully. Sterling has made the bigger of the moves, hitting its objective of 130.10. Last week we closed at 131.48. So you could have a fairly sharp bounce in sterling, which I would definitely be looking to sell into. And then the one I wanted to highlight was the yen. Again, with my theory, money moves first. Following currencies can give you a good indication of what's going to happen, given that the world is excessively short the US dollar. But dollar yen hit an objective. Last week's close was 154. We've now put 3 highs in the last 7 trading days of 154.45, 154.42. And yesterday, 154.48. That gives me a triple top. I'm a little concerned. And then here comes the curveball. Japanese finance minister comes out today, number 2 man in the currency market for Japan, and says the yen moves deviate from fundamentals. I didn't think that would happen to a 156, 158. So I put the yellow caution flag up here in the yen now. Watching currencies, it's very possible the dollar move from here on is going to be grinding to the upside, which to me, okay, let me put that in a nutshell to the viewers. That means the equity market stabilizes and starts to retrade up. Steve, I think you're bang on with your analysis this morning. I think you've got a great view. You've called this. Kudos to you.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's not about kudos. Yeah, and I appreciate that. But it's, my thought process, I laid it out, right? And here's where I was, and here's where I am now. And I think that the pressure cooker, as I've been calling it, you've been calling the quantum convergence. To me, that pressure cooker of people that are not happy with the economy and because it's not working for them, the K economy, as we've been calling it. I think some of that's taken off a little bit with the election, right? And the dollar pushing higher here means that maybe there's some calmness back in the market and people can push money back into the dollar. That the president is just not going to be able to. There's protection now against crazy tariffs now. That they're going to Supreme Court. There's a protection against the losing all these benefits or the government falling apart. I think that's abated now a little bit, and I think now we can run higher. I think the president is right. I think we're going to make new highs now. I do like this now. So yeah, that was my thesis, and it played out almost verbatim. And I think the next level of this is the upside. I spoke to a few people. I'll mention Jay Woods as a good example. Things will be higher all the way to the end of the year, and I agree with that. Jay personally. So I also think that it's also a stock pickers market too. I think that the AI world, which is what I live in, I get that, but I don't think that the FOMO is going to be there anymore. They're going to look at numbers now, and Palantir is going to have to prove it, right? Microsoft's going to have to prove it, and Meta's going to have to prove it, and I think that they will. But for me, I think the pressure cooker's off, and I think that's why I'm not yelling an all clear signal yet. No. But I am saying that we are a lot better than we were. I feel better than we were than just a few days ago.
Right, and some of the positives that could quickly slip in here. If you look at the bilateral negotiations with Mexico, the Mexican economic minister came out, Ebrard, and said that we are 90% complete now on trade negotiations with Mexico. So that's a significant. And then again, U.S. and India, which I thought is going to be rapidly coming, on October 30th, if I look for the tea leaves, on October 30th, the United States and India signed a 10-year cooperation agreement in defense. You wouldn't be doing that if there was a complete and utter breakdown of trade. So some positives that could quickly come to the forefront here.
I like this, and I think sincerity and the cooler heads are starting to clink in again a little bit. And I saw it on a CNBC article talking about Scott Bessent, talking about there is recession out there in certain places. We do see it, acknowledging that, right? There's this bluster that, everything is great and everything is fine, when it's really not. It's not the world that we need to live in. We need to live in a world that tells us what's really going on, explain to us, and I think that cooler head also helped prevail too. I think the market's okay. Yeah. I'm not saying it's an all clear signal yet, but I like it better today than I did yesterday. Not even just because of the election. I just think that the selling, the election, all of these pieces that I've been screaming about have now started to clear off, and here we are. So I think this is it. I think Steve. I think now you and I are back on track again. I think especially if and as you said, if some of these tariffs issues go away with the Supreme Court today, if some of these quote Mexico, Japan, China trade deals start to happen. I mean, you saw today Trump says Xi Jinping and I are actually friends, as best of friends we could be, considering he's China and I'm American. I mean, we're pretty tight. That's a good statement for me. They might absolutely hate each other,
Yeah.
but that's a pretty good statement for me. And that makes us as investors go, okay, I'm okay. I can put money back in. I can invest. I can clearly see the world a little bit better. All right. And guess what? Trump got his tariffs. He's leveling out the playing field, as I like to say. Great. So then, okay, then we should think about the markets a little bit tighter now. And I think he's right. I think Trump is actually right. We will see an all-time high coming in the end of the year.
Yeah, and the China's top trade negotiator just met with the U.S. Representation from our agricultural section, and he was very favorable, saying the U.S. needs to create favorable conditions for cooperation because we need each other. And I think you're right, Steve. Let's just see if it all starts to happen, but you got to play it out. But when you're an investor, you've got to have that forward vision and forward thinking. And if these conditions start to percolate, it is a good recipe for an up move from here.
I agree. Steve Flanagan and I are on the same we're on the same plane again. I agree, Steve.
Howard, are you hearing this?
Look, no, it's interesting because you and I always agree on almost everything because we've been in the game for so long, and we see it almost the same way. But there was a divergence over the last 3 months that just started to bother me, and I saw it very clearly. And I honestly, I can't tell you why I saw it clearly. I mean, maybe it's just the years that I'm doing it. Maybe the blinders were on. Maybe I was just getting pissy. I don't know. But the K economy was really bothering me, and we saw where the voters stepped up to it and said, "Hey, look, enough, right? Get back to work. I don't want to lose my job in Northern Virginia." Northern Virginia voted overwhelmingly Democrat. Independents voted Democrat. New Jersey, obviously, I think there's a change, as you said, in the demographics up there too as well. And then, of course, the young people in New York. The question I have to have now is where does the president, where does the administration go from here, right? Do they listen, or do they go right back to the same nonsense that they were doing over the last 3 months? I hope that's not the case. I hope they govern. That's what I want to see, governing, right? Get these tariffs done, as you said. The American people voted for Trump because they wanted to see this level playing field, and he's doing it. It may not be the right way. I mean, the way we all agree with, or democracy at play, but he's doing what he said he's going to do. Okay, if that all happens, I think the Republicans hold the House and Senate come next November. If they don't, I think that there's another wipeout come November, and I think that's what is going to bother a lot of the investors between now and in November. Now, I always say the same thing. What gets us out of messes like this? Tech. It's got to be tech. Tech has got to get us out of these messes. Yep. And I think you're seeing that now. So I think you're seeing data centers. There's some issues out there with data centers, the AI, and I get all that. But I also think with the possibly robots and electric vehicles and all the things that we're talking about and the Elon's talking about, flying cars. I think he's going to reveal a flying car here in a week or two. That is going to take people's minds off of the economy, off of what's going on in Washington, and get back to business. And I think that's what's going to change. And I think that's what's going to push the markets higher.
I couldn't agree more, Steve. Technology will be the leader here. And next November is a long way off. A lot of things can happen between now and then. But clearly, everybody has that on the marker from the political point of view. I think what you're going to see between now and then is an excess of 4% growth in the U.S. And I think that it's all about growing the economy, and the world is beginning to acknowledge. And I think a lot of these negotiations on trade, I think people miss the point, is a lot of it has to do with growing. China needs to grow their economy. Europe needs to grow their economy. Everywhere. And I think these negotiations, if done properly, which I believe they are, will lead to an explosion in worldwide growth.
What do you say about proliferation, nuclear proliferation right now? Is that ratcheting up, or is it just hot air?
Hot air.
Okay, so the defense minister in Russia saying we need to start up our nuclear test. The president of the United States says we need to start up our nuclear tests. Putin says we need to start the nuclear tests up. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, said it too. Like, that does not make sense to me. That's ratcheting up the heat a little bit. But you think it's hot air?
I think it's all hot air, Steve.
Good.
I'm not really concerned about that. I think Russia. I always respect them as an adversarial nuclear power, as everyone should. But I think Russia's boxed themselves into a corner right now over Ukraine. And I think Ukraine has got to give up a lot of things here because, let's face it, they lost.
They did.
If you want to end the war, then somebody's got to give. I think that there'll be some sort of defense assurances given to the Ukraine, which stop any further advancement. But I think that the talk that, well, Poland's next, come on, stop. That's not going to happen.
Gotta lower the temperature in Europe. All right, I'll leave it at that. Steve Flanagan, as always, I will see you right back here on Friday, my man. And we are on the same page, ladies and gentlemen.
Way to go, Steve.
All of you out there, thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you later.